I'm not gonna say it again. If y'all really want to keep, like, okay, never mind. Anyways, what's up, y'all? It's Super Stinson and stuff. So, I'm saying this. If y'all want me to get subscribers and help me, then what the freak is y'all doing? Why y'all can't just... Oh, I'm gonna give him a like. I'm gonna get a comment. I cannot subscribe. I need something. Especially subscribers. And comment. But yeah, all that. I want all that, but I don't see why none of y'all suckers do not want to watch this video. Do not. I mean, I know I made about like 300 or 200 videos by now. So y'all should be looking it up on, like, I don't see, it's just like someone tried to steal my body. Okay, so this like a wansee entertainment, okay.
It was probably about 1998 or 2000.
Okay. And plus, I got something big today. If y'all ain't expecting this, I ain't eat this since a month. Munchie snacks. Yeah, that's good. And I got healthy twin waters, but Fiji water and cord. Yeah, I got Fiji water and cord at the same time. I want to be healthy.
I was 9 years old at the time, and there were a lot of cases of human trafficking using the pelagic fishing boat. Kind of like that. It was probably early summer, a rainy day. Being a young child, I wanted to play outside because I especially prefer rainy days. But I didn't have any friends to hang out with that day. I think my parents were out somewhere then. So I thoughtlessly grabbed an umbrella and went out alone, wearing slippers. I used to live in a poor village, and it was located on a pretty high-level hillside. Anyway, I was playing by myself, digging a pit and watching the water pool in the playground. Now, suddenly, a middle-aged lady of my mom's age approached me. She came up to me and said, "I'm sorry, kid, but can I borrow your umbrella for a moment? It'll only take a minute." "Yes, ma'am." There was a place like a cabin in the playground to avoid the rain. So I was sitting there waiting for the lady.
Did y'all just see that just come out of my mouth? That made me lose my mind to stop eating. Why would you give somebody your umbrella?
But she didn't come back for quite a while. Then I saw a blue truck approaching. I took a closer look and I found that she was in the truck. She called me. "Your umbrella is behind the truck's trunk, and you see, I hurt my leg. So can you come get your umbrella by yourself, dear?" When I looked behind the truck, I could see the end of the umbrella rising up so that I could grab it easily. Come to think about it now, the whole thing was totally artificial. However, I was too young to think of it back then. I was going to the back side of the truck without thinking to grab the end of the umbrella and try to pull it out. But suddenly the driver got out. I thought he was trying to help me, but he grabbed me and forced me into the car. Then he put his hand on my mouth and said like this, "Hey son, you're not sick, are you? Or do you have any disability?" Confused, I just nodded slowly. "Okay, you'll be fine." Well, that dude was a real bee. He was talking to himself like that, and the lady next to him smiled and told him, "Wow, we finally made it today, babe. I want you to buy me a wallet." Now that I think about it, I think they were lovers or a couple or something. Not long after, there was a checkpoint ahead. I was crying loudly at the time, and luckily, the police seemed to look at us, and the guy and the lady must have both noticed it. They suddenly made a U-turn with the car at 90 degrees abruptly. Soon, I could smell burning wheels as I heard the sound of a gunshot. I could hear the police radio, and it was raining cats and dogs, and furthermore, the serious criminals are next to me. It was insane. I was just trembling with fear. When the car had stopped, I saw two policemen coming towards us. I was looking through the side mirror, and the man in the driver's seat suddenly got out and stabbed a cop with a knife. Then another cop next to him pulled out a gun and shot him in both thighs. Suddenly, the siren sounded so loud that my ears were about to rip. The lady sitting next to me was scared and couldn't say anything, just shivering.
Wow.
I ended up being released safely. It's been a long time since then, so I couldn't find any info about it. But I remember that my parents had interviews with some of the newspaper publishing companies. It turned out that both the man and the woman were from another country. They lived here for a long time, and they tried to escape through the smuggling route to somewhere else. And there were more than 4 people killed by them. I don't know about the man after that, but I heard that the woman ended up committing suicide later. One night after I heard that she was dead, I met her in my dream. She was just smiling without saying anything. And when I finally woke up from my dream, I got goosebumps. The 2 cops who saved me got a special promotion by reason of the civil protection. You like that? Besides, I found another thing. When I was in the car that day, it smelled a little bloody, so I thought maybe it was because the guy was bleeding. But that wasn't it. There was someone's wrist in the man's pants. It turned out that their first murder was a complete success. The man felt like things were going to be fine if he kept the body's wrist, so he cut it and carried it around with him, despite the rotten smell and bloody stench. I guess humans can do everything when there's an extreme situation. Also, this is what the experts say. Psychologically, people think a lot and get depressed on rainy days, so the crime rate is normally higher than on clear days. So I really want everyone to be careful on rainy days, especially when you guys are alone.
No, especially if you really. I mean, if you little, going outside and your mama told you not to go outside, I don't know what's the point of going outside and you a little kid and then you don't understand. Wow. Shame on that kid. Because I'm pretty sure his mama told him not to go outside.
Not long ago, the movie theater I was at was crowded with people when the movie Parasite came out. Maybe it was because that film just won a big prize called the Palme d'Or. There were a lot of people in the theater even though it was daytime on a weekday. So I entered the theater a little late that day, and the other people had already sat down in their seats. The seat I picked at that time was somewhere in the middle, probably the 8th row from the center of the screen in the front. Anyway, after the movie began, all I could hear was someone's breathing next to me. I was watching it in a relatively quiet atmosphere, as this movie was for adults, but suddenly, something strange under the screen caught my eye. The space between the front of the screen and the first row of seats is usually carpeted and empty, and there, I had no idea whether it was a woman or a man, but the person with disheveled hair was crawling on the floor on all fours. He was wriggling on the floor, attaching his stomach. At that moment, I thought that someone might have fallen there or was hurt at first. So I looked around with anxiety, but to my surprise, none of those people showed any response. What is it? Is he drunk? Is that why they're ignoring him? I could see that no one around me reacted, so I was also unable to move. And in the middle of the movie, there was a scene where one of the family members broke into the house after another family had left, and they started to drink alcohol and eat food in the living room. The sound of rain was so vivid, and all of a sudden, that unknown thing suddenly raised its head straight up in the air. He had been dragging his whole body to the floor until a moment ago. However, he then stood, waist up, straightened his chest, and started to look around the seats like crazy. I don't know if he saw me or just around me, but he turned his head towards where I...
Well, what? My screen needed to be a little bit brighter.
Was sitting. At that moment, me and that thing were looking at each other. Because of its messy hair, its eyes were blinded, and I could only see around its nose and mouth. As soon as I saw it, a thought suddenly came to my mind. Is that a human? Feeling uncomfortable, I intentionally turned my eyes towards the screen to avoid it. And this time, it looked up with its face and started to stare at the audience from under the center of the screen. On the wall, under the screen, it was now completely standing straight, with its upper body visible, and looking right this way. I couldn't see his face well, because of his hair, but soon after, it was finally shown, reflected by the light coming out of the projector. Only then did I begin to see a little bit of the middle of its face, and it was laughing, almost tearing its mouth, and its eyes were abnormally big and wide. I almost screamed for the first time. Its face was so gross that I almost threw up at that moment. So I picked up my bag quickly and started running down the stairs, thinking I should leave the cinema as soon as possible. I looked towards the screen as I went down the stairs, and it was staring at me, turning its head slightly. The movie theaters usually have different locations between the entrance and the exit. I guess they locked the exit, which was close to the seats until the end of the movie. No matter how hard I tried, it didn't open. Even though it was such a crowded place, it was like I was trapped. I could have come out through the entrance, but I was not in my right mind at that moment. But just then, I knew instinctively that something was wrong. It was approaching my back. What should I do now? I then turned around with my eyes closed and ran frantically from the exit to the opposite entrance.
I'm sorry to be smacking like this, but why would she close her eyes while she's running and trying to escape? You out here doing this. Like, what is that? You supposed to open your eyes wide to see, like...
Fortunately, the entrance door was open. When I came out, I could see the audience waiting and the part-timers in front of me. And as soon as I came out the main street from the theater, the creepy sensation quickly disappeared. However, whenever I saw videos relating to parasites on TV or the internet, its smiling face under the screen of the theater came up in my mind and distressed me. And I eventually couldn't watch that movie at all after that.
That movie haunted. It probably ghosts inside the movie. The grandma. The grandmother. Usually, about like a year when I see entertainment, he's usually like doing like grandma stories.
When I was in elementary school, I had a friend who lived right next door. We used to go to school together all the time. One day, I was standing in front of my friend's house waiting for her as usual, and I realized that she was kind of strange when she came out. She looked kind of bemused. When I looked more closely, she was breaking out in a cold sweat. Feeling something strange, I asked my friend what was going on, and she started telling me a story about her dream. She started to dream the same dream she had from long ago. A kind-looking old lady always comes out in her dreams, and she cooks meals for her and then she eats it all. My friend had a lot of conversations with her because she gave her such a good impression. The most amazing thing was when she woke up, she felt full, as if she had actually eaten, even though it was just a dream. My friend lived alone with her maternal grandmother at the time.
I ain't trying to be rude or nothing, but when you go to your friend's house or anybody like your family or anything that you know of anybody that you know, then they give you food, even strangers. If they even give you food, I would check it first before I could eat it. That's all I would do.
But on another day when my friend was about to go to school, she repeatedly requested one thing from her with a scary face. Do not follow the stranger or anyone today, okay? Do not. My friend was confused for a moment, but reassured her grandmother, telling her not to worry, and then went to school. However, nothing happened all day. And that night, she fell asleep, and the old lady appeared in her dream as usual and made her a meal. She was enjoying her meal, and all of a sudden, the old lady asked my friend to go somewhere with her. She held the old lady's hand and tried to follow her thoughtlessly. However, she then remembered what her grandmother said to her in the morning, so she let go of her hand and refused to go. Then she saw her face turn scary at that moment. The old lady suddenly grabbed the back of my friend's neck and began to drag her somewhere, and no matter how hard she tried to escape, she wouldn't budge at all. While she was trembling with fear, she then remembered the other thing that her grandmother had told her in the morning. If you're dragged by someone in your dreams, don't panic. Just slam your head against somewhere, like a wall or a pillar. Then you will wake up from your dream. Understand? My friend, who remembered the advice, saw a tree in front of her and tried to hit her head, but suddenly, the old lady laughed as she pulled my friend's head. Who taught you this? Oh, I see. Your grandmother did. So she failed to wake up and was being dragged away from her dream. And the old lady's cane suddenly caught her eye. At that moment, she bumped her head with all her strength on the stick, and then finally woke up from her dream. I got goosebumps listening to my friend, since it was early in the morning. Anyway, my friend, who had been absent-minded all day, started skipping school the following day. I was worried about her, so I went to her house. But the door didn't open, and she didn't answer the phone. A month later, my friend called me, and she asked me to come over to her house. With curiosity, I ran to her house, and when I saw her again, she looked emaciated, and the atmosphere around her was quite different. Most of all, she kept laughing to herself like crazy. She dragged me into the house, took me to a room, and said this, "Hey, you see my granny? She's crazy." Then she began to giggle more, and I unconsciously turned my eyes to the room. Her grandmother, looking into the air continuously, was begging desperately in a small, tiny room without a beam of light. Her face seemed afraid of something, and she kept muttering the same words. "I didn't teach her. That was not me. Please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Later, I heard that her grandmother had passed away shortly after, and my friend has been hospitalized because of the shock. Come to think of it now, wasn't the food she always ate in her dreams a meal for her grandmother, who would die soon?
Oh, no. No. I think there's something in that soup. I was absolutely right. There's something in that soup. That's sick. 2. Ooh, they got some long ones. This
Sweet tarts.
Thank you.
A candy that's just one thing. When I have sweet tarts.
I mean, they can be long as they want, but they better.
About 10 years ago, my family had a studio rental business in a big city. Our studio had the most thorough security system at that time. So, as a result, our studio became the best place for those parents who ever wanted to send their daughter from the rural area to the city. Even though the rent price was highly expensive, our studio was always traded, and because of that, the gender ratio of women was far higher. At that time, there was a woman who had moved into our studio for about 3 months. She was the kind of annoying type that she requested changing the automatic door lock's password several times a month. There was a manual in the room that helps you to change the password for oneself, but she kept asking us to do it every time, saying that it was complicated. We felt like she was the type who was going to fuss about our studio someday, so we always did her favor whenever she asked. But one day, she started saying something strange. She said that someone seemed to be coming inside of her room when she wasn't there. Of course, we have a master card to enter every room, but I swear, we are not those ignorant types of owners who come in and go out of any room, except for sometimes when people who leave their rooms without telling us they had changed the password, or when we had to do an electrical inspection for the empty rooms, asking for prior consent already. But she seemed to doubt me, because I was the one who guarded the studio during my university vacation. Anyway, my parents sent her back to her room kindly, saying that she might be mistaken at first. Then the other day, she came up angrily this time. She said that she put a piece of paper in the crack of the door and folded the edge of the bed's blanket slightly when she went out. However, when she came back again, then she found that the paper was fallen on the ground and the blanket was all spread out. Cursing me tremendously, she had already believed 100% that I was certainly the criminal. At the time, I was ordering food and in a good mood after cleaning the roof in a heavy sweat. And this woman's behavior slowly pissed me off. And even my parents seemed to be suspicious of me at this point. But I couldn't confirm what was happening on each floor because there was only one CCTV in the front door and another one in the parking lot at that time. No matter how I felt the unfairness, I couldn't just install all the CCTV using a huge sum of money to capture the evidence of the woman who has such a megalomania and mythomania. So I put a digital camera that had very low resolution at that time in a beverage box and put it in a hallway where she was living. I had to go down every 2 hours and empty the memory. And I finally ended up thinking that I wouldn't be able to do this anymore after about 3 days. On the 4th day, the incident happened. That day, the police knocked on our door first. Following them, when I looked inside the woman's room, I could see the pearl-like eyeshadow was spread on every side of the walls. It turned out that the woman had coated the doorknob with cosmetics when she went down to her hometown for a few days, hoping the criminal to leave a trace when he broke into her room. But as if he were mocking her, the criminal had put those pearl shadows all over the walls, ceilings, and even floors of the room. So the police came to my room after receiving the woman's report. They started to investigate whether they could find any traces of pearl shadow on my keyboard, mouse, drawer handle, faucet, and even the toilet watering lever. But it was nonsense. I was just eating delivery food without knowing anything. The wash basin in the woman's room, which had been empty for 4 days, was completely wet, as if someone had just finished taking a shower, and I could see the soap was expanded. I was eventually called to the police station as a witness for questioning. When I finally got back home, I brought my camera that I had installed before to see what was on it, just in case. And then, something strange was caught in the camera. On the second night, around 11 p.m., the woman's boyfriend was filmed entering that empty room.
Philips Avent anti-colic bottle with air-free vent. Embrace every challenge, love every moment.
He wasn't in the video for the 3rd day, and of course I couldn't film it for the 4th day. It was a suspicious thing. In the end, I went to the police station again with my camera and submitted it. The whole story of the incident that was revealed later was like this. It was her boyfriend who made her terrorized and tremble in an attempt to bring her into his studio. While she went to college, he kept sneaking into her room and left those suspicious traces for a month.
Now I'm going to her. I know it. Because she's thinking that it's the main character, but the boyfriend, he keeps sneaking into her house and other stuff, taking and do whatever he doing. But I just realized it. Because she keep coming in his room, keep telling that what he did and stuff. So I know now. Because when he still started about the boyfriend was doing it the whole time, I just started thinking about it.
Then as his girlfriend noticed the strangeness, she told him what had happened, and he kept telling her about the cruel and scary murdering cases that occurred in a studio apartment. Later, he suggested to her that she could sleep in his house if she was scared. His final goal was cohabitating with the woman, and the climax happened on that day.
You don't know how this dumb story is. You know how dumb this is. If her boyfriend messed up that room with handprints, like, they could go check that out. Why is they still got paint on the floor? Then she worried and thinking it's him. Like, what is wrong with these people these days?
After hearing that she had set up a trap at the door, he entered her room and rubbed the pearl shadows on the whole room more than she did. Of course, the sink, the blanket.
Okay, if he did it, that don't mean you gotta check it in his room. You gotta check the prints first before you could check somebody else's room. That's the point. They don't get it.
Blanket and the paper between the doors, everything was all by him. He thought that if his girlfriend felt extreme fear, she would end up living with him. What was even more creepy was that when the police came to our studio that day, he was comforting his girlfriend calmly, hugging her in his arms. The more she got afraid, the more courteously that bastard consoled her, and kept thinking about how he could make her scared on the other hand. In the end, the man was accused by the woman and her family, and the woman took time off from school due to the huge shock.
Wow.
There's something I want to confess about, so I'm going to write it down on this anonymous site. I'd like to talk about one thing I really did wrong. When I was in elementary school, I had to ride my bike to school because there was some distance from my house to my school. My house was located in a back alley. And one day on my way home, I was riding my bike around the curve, and I couldn't slow down, so I ran over an old lady. She collapsed, passing out, and I rushed back to my house, being terrified. She was a very kind person in my town. She was close to my family and people in the neighborhood, so she always greeted me kindly whenever she saw me.
I can't take off and do that. I gotta be like, oh my God, is you alright? I gotta pick her up. Nah, I can't just do that.
Back then, the CCTVs weren't installed around on the streets, so no matter what happened in the alley, there was no way to find out who did it. And the next day, a handwritten poster was attached to the alley wall. "We're finding a witness. My grandmother had an accident. We don't want to believe it, but if the criminal is one of our neighbors, please confess. We don't want strong punishment either. We just want to resolve the injustice." It was written something like this.
Oh my God, what happened? What happened? Oh my God, dude. I don't care about this. I don't care.
She returned home shortly after being treated for a concussion, and after that, her health began to resolve the injustice. It was written something like this. She returned home shortly after being treated for a concussion, and after that, her health began to deteriorate rapidly, because she was quite an old lady. I was afraid that I'd be revealed that I did it, but she didn't seem to remember the incident, or was she just pretending that she couldn't remember? Anyway, she was always spending time in the same place, enjoying the wind or the sun, and I had to avoid that place where she was. I shouldn't say it like this, but fortunately, I wasn't caught. As time went by, my guilt gradually became dull, and I was living without much thought of it. When I was in high school, she had dementia. And one other day, I was passing by the alley and I met the old lady again. I greeted her unconsciously. I'm not sure if she had a clear mind or not, but anyway, she smiled at me and said like this, "Oh, hello. So you don't ride your bike anymore?" The cold sweat soaked my back in a brief moment. Without answering, I just ran away, and time passed. The old lady passed away after I became an adult, and there's still the guilt in the corner of my heart. Since I can't tell this story to anyone, I hope you guys understand me using the power of anonymity to write it here. I know, I'm just the most terrible trash in the world.
Oh, she died, but no. I think she still got a memory. I mean, of course she still got a memory because she want to talk to them. And she want to remember how kind she is. But that, she said, so you ain't riding your bike no more. Because of that, she know what he did. He just thought he could secret hide. Wow. All these was messed up. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. Look at this. Look at this. You know how many stuff is still in this bag? Alright, but okay, let me stop being goofy. Okay, make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button. Comment down below which one was the scariest one. But I need to talk to y'all. Anybody that subscribed to me, I need to talk to y'all. Anybody that watching this unknown, I need to talk to y'all too. Anybody that got one view of this right now, watching this whole thing through the ending, please tell somebody. Can you subscribe to Super Stanton? Can you watch his videos? Can you like his videos? Can you comment his videos? I want that. I want that so bad. Because I want to be like other people too. Get famous because they doing YouTube and stuff. I know how that feels. They do 1 subscriber all the way through millions just like that up there. Up there. 1,000,000.16. This is exactly what I want. But anyway, make sure you subscribe, hit that comment down below. Hit that like button. And thank y'all for watching this video. Appreciate it. I ain't really had drunk the VGY because I was drinking this one too. So after this chips, I gotta brush my teeth. Brush my teeth and do all the other stuff. Now I'm gonna be on the Switch until 12. Then I'm gonna go to sleep. That's so good. Okay, I have thought about it. Another comment, okay? Hello. This one of my videos. He said this video was fire. So thank you. Thank you. I know my video so fire. Cause I like do little stuff. But if you watching this right now, I just want to say thank you and tell other people who are me subscribe to me. Give it a like, comment, and I don't sound like that, so thank you. like that same name from Anna Lee Chopper's other profile. But it's a different name. So I love y'all. Appreciate it. See y'all later. For real. Peace.